Hola, queridas, queridos. Welcome back to the Beam and Flow podcast, a nitty gritty exploration of your body, energy, awareness, movement, and flow. I am your host, Chloé. Here we go. Enjoy the show. I am so excited to share this episode with you. Today, I sat down with Adriana Vargas, the amazing owner of Alivio Wellness in Hoboken, New Jersey, and in Herald Square, Manhattan. Um, Adriana and I had a great conversation around accountability. We talk about the accountability involved in opening a business, the accountability involved in hiring a team and asking for help, how you have to stay true to yourself, how accountability starts with you, how manifestation actually works, and being accountable to your family as a family of immigrants, as a family of Latinas. How do we stay accountable to our ancestral lineage and the gift that we have of living here right now? So I'm so excited to share this episode with you. Share it with a friend, share it with someone that you feel like can be encouraged to start their own thing, their own hustle, their own vision, their own business, their own empire. We're doing it all with BEAM&Flow. So go ahead and share this episode. Leave a review. It helps us out a lot with the algorithms and those things. And enjoy this episode with Adriana Vargas of Alivio Wellness. We'll start with that. Why were you thinking about getting an accountability coach?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm a new mom now and I own a business and now like a second location in the city. And it's just like a lot of important things that like need my attention. Also, a wife. Men are very needy. Um, so I'm just trying to figure out like, I just don't want to drop the ball anywhere. And I have very bad habit sometimes of procrastinating when I have to do something scary. Or like yeah, just procrastinating in general. So I was like, maybe I should get a coach to like help keep me like on track. Um, but what's funny is that like I haven't gotten one ever since I had the baby, because as corny as it sounds, like he's keeping me accountable. Like I feel like I'm doing everything that I'm doing and working so hard for him. And also like the team at Alivio, like I can't like drop the ball on something because like you guys are also depending on like a place to work and like clients are depending on you guys to treat them. So like I feel like there's a lot of people depending on me. So like that really helps like help me stays on track. But yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea. I just like didn't like pull the trigger on it yet.
I think it's totally fine that you haven't started yet, but just the fact that it's on your mind and that you know you need some support with that, I think is so huge. I mean, we say all the time awareness is the first step, right? Like you
Right.
you can't make plans if you don't know that you have to make plans, right? You can't make change if you don't know that you need to make change. So, what's been with everything that you mentioned, being a new mom, the 2 businesses, 2 locations now for the business, being a
Yeah.
wife, being a human being, what what is it that you feel like um, is is what's requiring the most accountability from you right now?
Wow. That's a good question because I feel like they're all Uh, it's between mom and work. And my husband, like, he does get a lot of attention from me, but like with the baby, of course, like he's getting the majority. But I think, the baby right now, like he's 2 months old, he needs me. I am like, he needs me to like do everything, like go to sleep, eat, like he is a little baby. So he's the one right now. And then Alivio is a very close second. Because of the team. I just don't want to like let you guys down, and we have such a great momentum going. I feel like the studio is doing so well. So I just want to keep that momentum going and especially with a new location in the city. So,
So
but mom for
let's
sure.
get into Alivio for a little bit because um I I just think that you are such a role model and you inspire me so much. Um,
Thank
I
you.
I met you 2.5 years ago now? Yeah,
Two and a
about two and a
yeah.
half years ago, yeah, and, through Marie, who also does colonics at Alivio, and she was
Yeah.
like, "Hey," this was during COVID, right? During the height of the pandemic, Marie comes to me and she's like, "Hey, so, um, my friend my friend Adriana, who, she runs Vitality at the time, she's gonna be opening up her own space and she's looking for someone to do lymphatic drainage. I think you'd be a great fit." And in my mind, I said, "Everybody's opening up a space. That's fine. When she's actually open, tell her
Let
to
me
talk to me." Which was
Amazing.
true because everybody was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm doing this," which is wonderful, and I was like, "When it happens, let me know," you know?
Right,
And then it
right.
happened, and that was the thing, like, then it happened, and it happened fast, and so I wanna kind of talk through that process because I think so many of the people listening, a lot of my audience are women and women in their 30s, 40s, looking to really expand maybe an entrepreneurial venture or to like make their side hustle their main business. So, how did you go from managing someone else's space to the idea of I could do this and make my own to a brick and mortar location to now two locations in less than 3 years?
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I just want to start off by saying that I never wanted to own a business. My dad was a business owner. He owned a Spanish nightclub in Spanish Harlem back in the 90s. And I just saw, like, I mean, you have to be married to your job. Like, I mean, that's like another part of you. And I was like, I just want a 9 to 5, and at 5 o'clock, I want to be, I want to go home. So I never thought that I would own a business. One, because of that, and two, because like I didn't think that I had it in me, to be honest. Especially like the people pleaser in me, like I didn't know how I would like manage that. Um, but I got really lucky when I first got certified in colon hydrotherapy. I was looking for a place to work, and a lot of people who do colonics, they basically like work on their own. They don't really have a team. It's a very small type of business. You have like one room, and you see your clients there, maybe two rooms, and like maybe you share with someone else. So I was asking around, and like I literally did my research and found every colonic place in New York, New Jersey, wrote everything down, called everybody, and nobody was hiring. And it was basically because of that. You basically work for yourself. So I was like, okay, well, the only way I'm going to make this work is maybe I can like rent a space out of someone's studio and see my own clients. So I was out to dinner with my now husband, and I was like, if I'm going to do this, like I need a name. And we were both talking and like just trying to like go through things that would make sense for a colonic. Like I was like, okay, well, how do you feel after a colonic, like whatever. Why are you getting a colonic? Why would people do this? And I thought of like relief. And I'm like, relief. Okay. Like, what is that? What does that mean in Spanish? Like, I don't know. We played around with it. And basically, alivio means relief in Spanish and in Portuguese. My husband is Brazilian. So I was like, perfect. So I got the name of the location, never thinking that like I would ever own a studio. But I did, do the whole LLC thing. I got a website just in case I needed to do that. But I had the name in case like there was a space that opened up. And then I went to Vitality. I found Vitality and I loved it there. Vitality had just opened when I got certified. And because every other place was turning me down, I was like, you know what? I'm making an appointment at this place, and I'm gonna find someone. I'm gonna talk to someone in person. So I made an appointment, and my appointment was with Tom, who is a therapist at Alivio now. And that freaked me out because I was like, oh my God, a man. Like I didn't even know who I made the appointment with. But Tom has been a colon hydrotherapist for like 25 plus years. Like he was the perfect person to get a colonic from and the perfect person to talk to. So we spoke. Basically, they weren't hiring because they had just opened. But he's like, you know what? I'm going to introduce you to Mike. And I feel like Mike was the owner of Vitality, and he has an amazing Instagram page on podcast. It's Everyday Detox is the name of it. But he owned Vitality, and he's like, I'm going to introduce you guys. Whatever happens, happens. So we spoke, and when you just have like a connection with someone, like it was just so easy. And he's like, "Look, I really like you. We're not hiring right now, but like, let's keep in touch." So that's what we did. At the time, I was working in corporate. I was working in sales in the tourism industry, and I loved the industry. I got to travel a ton, like so many great life experiences. But at the time, I was at a job that I absolutely hated. So Mike and I were in touch for like about maybe a year or so, maybe two. And one day he calls me and he's like, "Hey," at the time I was like really seriously considering transitioning from corporate world to doing colonics full time. Like I loved, you know, I loved being a therapist. Like I loved getting to know people. I loved that every day was different. I loved getting to help people, and I loved getting to treat myself too. So I really wanted to make that transition. And he called me out of nowhere and he's like, "Look, I'm moving to Oregon and I need someone to manage the space. I really loved your energy. Like, what would you consider maybe managing the space?" And I was like, "Well, I never say no, like I pretty much say yes to any opportunity." So I was like, "Yeah, of course. Let me just think about it." I had a corporate job at the time. So like letting that go would mean no benefits, no insurance, nothing. So I was like, "Let me just think about it." The next day I walk into my job that I hated, and there was a huge layoff and I was part of it. So I was like, after they laid me off, like I almost like I smiled to myself. I was like, "Okay, this is like meant to be." So I called Mike and I was like, "Mike, you will never believe what just happened." And we were like, "This is a sign." So I think that like sometimes the world kind of like gives you a little kick, because I don't know if I would have actually gone for it because it was really risky, unless I had that push. So that's kind of how I got into managing vitality. um, because life gave me a push. And you know what? Financially, let me say this. I was really scared of making that switch because financially I knew that that would be a lot, but I ended up making like significantly more doing something that I loved and taking a chance than I did staying in the corporate world. So if you believe in yourself and you're doing like exactly what you were put on this earth to do, like the money will follow you. Um, so I know that's like a really long story. I didn't even get to how I got to vitality, but I can.
Yeah, let's go there. And let me just highlight some of the things that you shared because you said some gold there, mamita. That you always say yes to an
Yeah.
opportunity. That you were ready. You were See, people think that luck just happens, but luck really is preparation meeting opportunity, and you were prepared. You had the website, you had the LLC, you had the name. You were like, "This is in case this happens, I'm
Yeah,
ready."
exactly.
And then it happened. So I would just say to anybody who's like, "Where do I even start?" Start somewhere. Like, start with the name, start with the idea, write it down, make that a solid thing, and then start putting feelers out. You made a list of everyone in New York and New Jersey. You called all of them. I've done it too. And
Yeah,
listen, it's not fun. So this
no,
part of the work, and when you're trying to do something that you really care about and you're trying to make the opportunity exist, it's not fun and it's not easy, and it's a combination of confidence and humility. You have to have the confidence that you have the gift to offer and this is what you are here to do, and the humility to say, "You have no idea who I am. Give me the chance to prove it to you." So
totally.
so from there, from doing those things, then what was the next step? How did you go from managing vitality, making the switch to now, "I think I can maybe do this for myself"?
Well, again, the world was going to kick me one more time. And it happened with COVID. So COVID happened, and the studio was doing amazing, better than we had ever done. We had a specific goal in mind that we wanted to reach. We were literally $100 away from that goal, and COVID hit, and the city shut down, the world shut down. So I was home, and I got a Peloton at the time, and this is actually significant to the story because, like, also working out and doing right by your body, like, really, like, it clears your mind and it makes you kind of like, I don't know, getting on that bike sometimes was like going to church. Like, I just got to like think about like, what do I want to do? What do I want? Um, so the studio in the city was going to close, and Mike, of course, lived in Oregon, and he was fine with that because he wasn't gonna move to New York, especially now at the time. So you know how you said that like, you just kind of have to like put things out there. I think like if anyone wants to start anything, I think the first thing you have to do is talk about it. So I was with a client, I was seeing very limited clients at the time. And I was with a client and I mentioned, like, I don't know what's going to happen with Vitality. I love it here, but like, I think that I have to look into opening my own place, like, because I don't know if this is going to last much longer. I worked in tourism. I couldn't go back to tourism. Nobody was traveling at the time. Like, I think I have to make this happen for myself. So my client's name is Keith, and he's actually still, I think you've even treated, yes. So he's still a regular at the studio. And I just like said it, during the session, like not even like really taking it seriously, but I was like, oh, it'd be so cool to have a place in Jersey. And Hoboken would have been ideal, like I just put it out there. And he was like, oh, well, I know a real estate agent. Like, do you want me to introduce you? And again, I never say no. So I was like, yeah, sure. So he introduced me to Tara, who was my real estate agent. And, then I realized like, well, I actually have someone like working on this for me right now. So just knowing that she was looking for places for me, like that got the process going because like she was already working, to help me find a place. And Alivio was the second place that we saw, had exactly what I needed. I mean, I never even like everything that I in my wildest dreams could have imagined, like a storefront in Hoboken with like the basement space that we needed to do the plumbing, like everything was perfect. The price because of COVID was really great. So that's kind of like how Alivio started in Hoboken, and then I eventually acquired Vitality because Mike was going to close the business anyway. So we just made an agreement, and that's how it all happens.
So, okay, Beau beautiful, and I'm just so grateful that I've been able to be part of the story, but, like,
Totally.
let's break this down a little bit to the nitty-gritty because, um, you're you're working with this real estate agent, right? This realtor, and she's looking for places for you, but you never wanted to be in business for yourself. This is
No.
the first time so all of a sudden, things that you need to think about, licenses, uh, inspection, insurance, all of these things that you had never you didn't even want on your radar. So, how do you go from, "Okay, this is a fun idea, I'm talking with a real estate agent," to, "Okay, I have to actually set up a business and get this done." How did you stay accountable to those steps? Who did you have supporting you? What was that part of the process like?
So obviously, it's really overwhelming. I have never opened a business before. And Mike from Vitality actually was extremely helpful because he had opened actually a couple of businesses before. So when it came to like actually building the colonic units and like even some of the building stuff, like he was super helpful. But because of all of the things that I had to do, I kept just telling myself I was in such a good place mentally. I'm telling you, like working out can really get you there mentally. I was in such a good place that I just kept reminding myself, like, I don't think I ever lost my cool once. I cried once throughout the whole process because it is overwhelming. But I just told myself, like, okay, one step at a time. As long as I do like one, even if it's a little thing, if it's a phone call that day, as long as I do something like one thing every day to get me closer to opening, then like I cannot beat myself up because it's a lot. And as long as I do like little baby steps, like I'll eventually get it done. I think the hardest part was finding someone to help me build the space. If you've been to the Hoboken studio, there's two colonic rooms, one lymphatic drainage room, but that was never there. Like that was all one open space. So finding a contractor and a plumber and an electrician, like, and you're talking to like a woman who really does. I have no idea what I'm talking about when it comes to that stuff. So it was really hard to find someone who was like trustworthy, and it actually like it took more than I expected. So we were supposed to be open a little bit sooner, but I learned my lessons and now I can open another place, not with my eyes closed, but I have the right people who can help me. But yeah, I just think like when it comes to anything overwhelming, like give yourself grace and just I mean, don't rush, just one little step at a time and you'll eventually get there.
So, if you're okay with getting into this part of the questioning, I
Yeah.
know I have I have a lot of listeners who have DM me and asked me this question, so I'm going to pass it on to you.
Mhm.
When you're at that step and you're talking to contractors and to plumbers and electricians, coming from managing someone else's studio, how how are you like, is it did you have family support? Did you get a loan? Like, I think that question scares so many, especially so many women who are wanting to get started in this space. Like, I have to pay for it. Where do I even start? That question can feel so overwhelming. So, if you're okay answering that, I'd love to hear.
Okay, so the whole reason I even became a colon hydrotherapist to begin with is because I was and still am in an overwhelming amount of student loan debt. Like, it is overwhelming. So I thought to myself, like, there's no way that I can pay this off by just having one job. So I was actually thinking, like, what can I do on the side that is going to help me, pay these loans off? Because it's just like it's something that like just it just sits on your shoulders, and it's just like I don't know, just doesn't go away. So a friend of mine at the time, she's like, "Well, you do colonics at the time. Like, why don't you go get certified?" And I was like, "Okay." I like never thought of it, but I was like, "Let me look into it." And I looked into it, and it was an easy process to get certified. So um, I'm saying this because like I did not have a lot to begin with, but when I got certified, my goal was to pay off those loans, and I became really, really good at saving. At one point, I was saving 45% of my paycheck just went straight to savings. So I saved like a pretty good amount. When I transitioned to just doing colonics full time, I also had a side gig where I was still in tourism. So I did like a little side gig. My entire paycheck from that side gig went straight to savings. So in about a year or so, I was able to save maybe a little over a year. I was able to save $40,000, which I thought was amazing. I think that's not too bad. So with that, I was able to settle on one of my student loans, and I had still like a nice, lump sum that I didn't have any plans with except for to save or invest or whatever. And then COVID happened. So I used those funds obviously to help fund the opening of the studio, but that was not enough. I got amazing support from my husband. So he was able to contribute a little bit. One of my clients also, like before I said, just put it out there, talk to people. I told her what I was doing. And, the more conversations we had, she was like, I really want to help you out. And I was like, well, I know exactly how you can. So she gave me a small loan. And I also got amazing help from my contractor, which is actually a really crazy story. I've never actually like told this like publicly. But I was having a really tough time finding a contractor. So my husband, he runs a soccer training program out of Livingston, New Jersey. So he works with a lot of, obviously a lot of kids, and he knows a lot of their parents. And one of the parents is a contractor. So I don't like to ask anyone for favors. Like I don't want to bother anyone. I don't want anyone to feel like they have to help me, whatever. But I just had him in the back of my mind in case I needed help, vetting people. I It was really hard to find someone. I mean, there's not many colonic studios in the world. So and for someone who doesn't know how to build anything, I did not know how to explain how to build a colonic studio or like what the studio even needed. So it was really hard to explain that and find someone who would understand the work that needed to be done and find someone who was trustworthy and like nice and able to work with my budget. So I was already paying rent at the space, and I had no contractor for like maybe 2 to 3 months. And I was like, I cannot keep wasting time. So I asked Raf, and this was a big lesson for me. Like, ask for help. I don't like asking for help. I don't like to bother people, but I needed to at the time. So I asked my husband if he can introduce me, and he did. And at first, I spoke to him and I was like, look, I just need help vetting these people. I don't know what I'm looking for. Like, can you just help me, like, vet these people? So he and his business partner would help me, like, interview, basically contractors and plumbers and electricians. And we weren't finding anyone who knew what they were doing or anyone that they trusted. So, you know, time is money. And they saw that I was like losing a lot of time and money. So they were like, you know what? I'm just going to help you out. So they actually helped and built the studio for me. Fast forward a few months later to my wedding. Um, we had a great time at the wedding, and the contractor and his partner who built my studio came up to me at my wedding and gave me an envelope. And they were like, congratulations. I opened the envelope and they gave me basically a paid invoice for all of the work that they had done at Alivio. And I mean, like, I still get like, I don't even know, like, what did I do to like deserve that? So they are also people who like, I can't let them down. Like Alivio has to be successful because like they also believed in me. But I also think that like little things like that just showed me like this Alivio, like this business, I'm doing the right thing. Like this is so meant for me that like I found the perfect space. I found people who built the space for me and like gifted it to me. I have like great staff. Like everything just flowed so perfectly. So that's how I know like I'm exactly where I need to be.
So I love hearing how you just really surrendered to knowing that your calling and to trusting the process and the timing of it. And that's a simple thing to say. Oh, I just surrendered. I just surrendered to the flow. But that's
Because you have no choice.
well, and it's not easy even when there is no choice. Like when there is no choice, the ego still wants to be like, "Well, no, but this is too much. This can't be. There has to be another way." Um, and so I want to touch on this this idea that surrendering isn't just a one-time act or a one-time decision. Surrendering is like, okay, I'm surrendering to this movement, this calling in my life, and then
Mhm.
that means, okay, later I have to surrender to being accountable to my finances, to saving money, not knowing that you were saving money for your business, right? Like, you had no idea that that's what you were doing, but you were accountable to yourself to saying, "This is the situation I need to get myself out of. How am I gonna do this?" And then being accountable to yourself leads you to this place where you've invested in yourself without even knowing. Great. So now surrendering is maybe a little bit easier because you've proven that part to yourself. But now you have to actually ask for more help. And that's hard. And some of us want to think that like, when you surrender, well, then it just happens. Like, I surrendered. It should just take care of itself. But like,
Yeah,
you still have to do the work. And sometimes doing the work is asking for help. Um, so
that was a lot I need to learn. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love your story, thank you for sharing because I really appreciate how it isn't just a one-time surrender, that accountability is kind of surrendering every day and putting in, like, the time and the energy to say, "Okay, what's next?" Like, I surrender and what's next? So, you asked that question, mamita. A lot, because what's next? I'm gonna get married. What's next? I'm gonna get married, like, in 2 months. What's next? Oh, I think we wanna have a baby. Oh, okay, I'm pregnant. Okay, great. What's next? Oh, I'm gonna open a second location. Like, how
I
many
know.
times have you asked yourself what's next? Do you
My
stop?
husband, can we just like be, please? I mean, no one listening to this like knows this story, but I basically opened a business, got engaged, got married, bought a house, and opened a second business and got pregnant, and had a baby within 2 years. Like maybe, yeah, like less than three for sure. It was like one thing after another.
Wild.
Wild. But look, I'm really good, I feel like, at manifesting things, and I just have a certain idea of what I want my life to look like, and I had a certain idea of like where I wanted to be at a certain age. And I wasn't like married to that idea. I just like even now, like I'm getting there, but I'm not like who I envision myself to be yet, but I'm really close. And I think like on top of surrendering, like also I'm not afraid to sacrifice. Like I'm still not living my life the way that like I want to yet. I make a lot of sacrifices. I don't do a lot of things just so that I can continue saving and doing what I have to do so that later on I can relax and like enjoy. But I am enjoying the journey. And I am enjoying life, but I think, sacrifice is a big part of that. But yeah, I have a plan for myself and like, I'm not, nothing's gonna deter me away from that plan. Like I deserve it. My son deserves it. Like we deserve it. We only have one life.
Absolutely. And what you just said is so important. I deserve it. My son deserves it. Like a a big part of accountability, and I've talked about this with a couple of other people now, is being accountable to yourself. Well,
Mhm.
if you don't believe in yourself, how who are you who are you being accountable to? Like if who you are in your mind isn't worthy of sacrifice, isn't worthy of showing up for, like if you don't believe that about yourself, how is the world going to believe that about you?
Reach, Chloe. Though, like it's the truth. You have to like love yourself enough to do these things for yourself.
So
Yeah.
when you say I'm really good at manifesting, uh,
Mhm.
talk talk me through that a little bit because I mean we've talked privately a lot about this, but um, what what is your process? Is it a state of being? What does manifesting look like for you?
Um, well, at the end of every year, um, I do like a vision board, and I've done this now for like the past, I don't even know, maybe like 5 to 7 years, and even made like an event out of it. I've invited friends over. My sister does it with me. I've done it with like friends of friends. So I think it's important, like you said in the beginning of the podcast, to like have a plan or at least an idea of like what you want your year to look like. And my vision board has changed every year, like the way that it looks and the way that I like organize things. But that's kind of how I start my year. Like I'm like, okay, what do I want from this year? And I put it all in one place where I can see it, and I put it in my closet where I can see it every day. And it's really cool at the end of the year to like, as I am taking out my old vision board and putting the new one in to like see, what did I do? Can I cross these things off the list? I love a list, by the way. Like, oh my God. I love to cross. Oh my God. Like, how good is that feeling to cross something off a list?
It is the best, the
Oh,
best, and
I
I
love
was
it.
annoyed when phones came out that, like, it was but then this app, Google, whatever, uh, Hangout what's it? There's an app, there's part of, like, the Google suite, and it's like a checklist, so you can literally check, check, check. It is
The
so
name of this
nice.
app.
But yes,
In
a
notes,
list.
yeah, in notes, you can kind of like check it, but there's nothing like writing something
It's
out
a
and like
yeah.
crossing it off.
It's so satisfying.
It really is. When I have my to-do list, like for the week or the day, like even if I didn't put it on the list, but I did it, I'll write it on there and just like cross it off really quick. Because I think it's important to like see what you've done. Oh my God, I'm kind of like off topic, but kind of on topic. I have to go back to when I was in the corporate world. This
Okay.
is like super helpful, actually. So a boss of mine at the time, he saw that like, I mean, I wasn't doing what I loved at the time. So I guess I was taking a little bit longer to do things. So another thing, if you want to keep yourself accountable, what he did was he made me track my day. So like anything that I would do, he made me record when I started and when I finished so he can see or so I can see how long it took me to do certain things. And then at the end of tracking everything, I could see what is taking me more time. Like, what am I focusing my energy on or my time on that like is taking so long, basically. So I think that that's like a great thing to do if you're having trouble focusing. It's a great way to figure out like what is taking me forever. So anyway, a really great little tool.
That is a great little tool, and I okay, what came up in me as you were saying that was like,
Still trigger you?
"Fuck no." I was like, I would have been that person too because really, unless it's something that I care about, like what we're doing, the work that we do,
Uh-huh.
if I'm honest, I'm not a great employee because if it's not my thing, if I'm not lit up by it, I'm kinda like,
You're like,
"Meh,
"Sorry."
sorry." And that's not a great thing. And I know and because I know that, I'm also accountable to, like, say, "You know what? My time is not gonna be served best by half-assing it for someone else when I'm gonna go 1,000% for myself and for the people that I do care about and the things that I do care about."
My God,
Um,
100%.
so
That's really
how have you incorporated that piece into Alivio, let's say, as an example?
what the, like, not procrastinating
Yeah,
thing?
the figuring out the time thing.
Um, well, I think it's like delegating, to be honest. But it took me some time to be able to hire somebody to be able to delegate to. um, at first, I literally was doing everything from answering the phones and the emails, like in between treating clients. Like it was crazy because I couldn't afford to like bring someone in. But you know, we need support, we need help, and I needed to ask for help. Um, I have a really tough time sometimes, like stepping into like the boss shoes, like I don't think of myself that way. Like we are all a team. I could never do what I'm doing without a team. Like I can't do this on my own. So yeah, again, I'm really grateful that I've found really good people. That also takes a lot of time. It's really hard to find good people that actually like care about your business. But back in the Vitality days, we had a front desk manager named Kyle, and look, this is like the universe again, like just working out, working things out for me. So Kyle was amazing. And when COVID started, I was like, all right, Kyle, see you in like 2 weeks. And obviously, we were in lockdown for more than 2 weeks. So during that time, he did his own thing and he was like traveling around the world, doing the things that he loved. So I don't think that he expected to come back here and definitely not work at Vitality or Alivio again. Like I thought that that was like done already. So I was at the studio. I was having a really hard time finding a front desk person, and Kyle was visiting, or so I thought. And he stopped by the studio, and I had already hired somebody who was doing front desk. But he was like, "Look, if you ever need any help, I think I'm going to be here for a couple of months." And long story short, about a week later, my front desk person had quit. And I was like, Kyle, again, like it just like was perfect timing. Um, and Kyle just like really cares about the studio and like the success of the studio and really cares about the work that we do, which I think is like so, so important. He's like enthusiastic about it because he lives it. And it's really important when people call and ask questions about the services or like the lifestyle, like he can really speak to it. He really believes in it. So to be able to delegate those small things, like for him to be the first person that people talk to, or for him to be the first person that people see when they walk into the studio, like seeing a happy face, like someone who's happy to be there, I think is so important. But I tell him all the time, like I could not do what I do without you, because he really helps like the little things that I can't get to that mean a lot, like emails and phone calls, like clients are everything. So you need support.
For sure. For sure. Um, I wanna switch a little bit. Maybe not switch because it's kind of deepening into the conversation around manifestation. Um,
Mm.
and bringing your manifestations into reality and being accountable to seeing that happen. I've For me, I've recognized that it is m it's really it goes beyond just saying, "I am this," or "This is what I want," or "I am creating this." It's like embodying that you already are those things, that you already have these things, that
Yeah.
this is just emanating from you, therefore it's gonna happen because I already am this way. So, again, it's simple to say, not easy to do all the time. So, how do you stay accountable to really embodying that when you have so much that you're juggling? Your marriage, being a mom, being a business owner, being a daughter, being a friend, being a sister. Like, we have all of these things, and at the end of the day, it's still nuestra sola that that we're accountable to. So, how what does that look like for you? How do you stay in alignment with yourself?
Oh my goodness. So I try to remind myself, like, I love that you said that you kind of have to like be it, like, so I remember not too long ago writing out on a post it, act like it. And I put it next to my bed. So in the morning I would see act like it. And what I meant when I wrote that was like, that woman that I told you that I envisioned myself being, like, I know that I'm not there yet, but act like you are. I, there's there's so much power behind that, um, because it just starts to naturally happen when you just believe that you have already made it there. Um, so I think it's just little reminders like that, and also just having I have a lot of people that I can't let down, so that helps too. But a point that I didn't want to like, I really wanted to touch with you because I think that you'll really appreciate this and like, um, you'll know where I'm coming from. But basically, we both come from immigrants, right? And I was just talking about this, but basically, my grandparents came here from Cuba. They brought my mom. My mom was like 6 or 7. My dad came here from the Dominican Republic. He was 17. But basically, my grandparents, they sacrificed a lot to get here and to give my mom like better opportunities, a better life. And they did that. And so, like, like they were super happy, but like didn't have like a ton. And my mom was able to do like a little bit better. And now it's my turn to do a little bit better. And so that when my son is able to like be out there, then it's his turn to like elevate our family and our lineage. So I always think about that because like what an incredible sacrifice they made. I don't think that I would be able to leave like my home to be somewhere where I don't even know the language and like make it happen. So I want to do right by them too. And I do think about that often. And I think that that's also what keeps me going, like, besides everyone else who's depending on me, but like just making them proud and making their sacrifices beyond worth it, actually, like going for it.
Yeah, that ancestral lineage is a touch key that, like or touchstone that it doesn't go away. I know exactly
Yeah.
what you mean. Like, there's everything I do. I mean, you know me, you know how I do things. So my ancestors are set up. I give them water pretty much every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's there's no part of what I do that isn't connected to what they did to, like, for me to have this gift of life that I am living today, it's because of them, you know? And,
Yeah.
I can see traces even though I'm doing something different than any of them have done, I see pieces of everything that they did in what I do and how I do it.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering what you see. Like, what do you see from your mom, from your grandparents, from your dad? What do you see from your lineage showing up in the work that you do?
Oh, hmm. I don't know if I see anything in the work that I do. Um, like meaning colonics. Like I don't think I see them there, but I feel them a little bit more when it comes to like running and operating a business for sure. Like they all had again, like were willing to sacrifice. They all had a drive, they just were fighters. And there was no time to like not, so I think this is also what keeps me going. Like there's no time to not be that person. Like there's no time to like be like, oh, maybe I should, do this tomorrow or whatever. Like there's no time. Like you gotta like, it's almost survival. It is survival. Like they were here and they were surviving day to day. Like I don't feel that much pressure, but it is kind of that same feeling, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I do think that there is something to that that is very, um distinctly Latina, distinctly immigrant, like not just Latina, but immigrants from all over, that
Yeah.
you are very aware of the fact that in this country, it costs to live. It is not
Mm,
free to live in this country. Um, and so choosing to be here, there was this innate understanding of like, I'm choosing to work. Like I'm choosing to make something happen. I'm choosing to be actively creating something because
right.
I have to. Like that's the choice of being here. Once you're here, it's not a choice. I gotta live. Like I gotta eat, right? So if I'm coming, then I'm making the choice preemptively that that's what life is gonna be. And I definitely see that drive in you and I see that hustle in you. And I wanna take a second and just highlight that you also are elevating things to a different level of of work ethic where it's, you know, how am I creating this where it's a sustainable thing and I'm not going to be hustling forever. And I will be able to enjoy this not just then but now as I'm doing it. Um and I think there's something really beautiful about being that part of the generational story, like the one who's shifting it from surviving to thriving.
Yes.
And what does that mean to you to be in that part of the generational saga?
Uh, I mean, it means everything. Like the whole reason I mean, family is everything. So it's really nice to, I started this business too, my own business, so that I can make time for my family, which sounds really silly because like you are married to your business. But, like right now, for example, I'm able to be home with my son um, 2 days during the week, and I work, part of the day, the other 3 days that I'm at work. Am I at work 3 days? Yes. So like I'm definitely able to spend so much more time with him and like make family a priority the way that my family always has. So it's really great to like have that flexibility and be able to step away and know that like the business is fine. Like everyone is good. Kyle is there to help me out, like I have a great team and I can be home like where I'm supposed to be taking care of my son. But like no, it feels really nice and I feel like I've made their sacrifice or I'm making their sacrifice, worth it. I know that like if they're looking down, like whatever you believe in, but I know that they are looking down like super proud because I mean, how can you not be like, look at what your kids are doing, look at what your grandkids are doing, like you made it, like they made it so that we can continue like being our best self. So it feels really good to be able to just like make them proud because I know that they would be if they were here. They're very important to me. I have like a tattoo right here. I only have two tattoos. But this, my grandfather gave to my grandmother. It's a necklace that she just never ever took off. And it means love, unity, and faith. There's a little cross in between, like the little unity part. But they're just like always with me. So my grandparents are very, very important to me.
I love that. And of
Yeah.
course, how could they not be proud? I mean,
I
look.
mean, they were proud when they were here and I was like a dancer, and they were proud of my recital. But just to know that like their family made it here in America,
Mhm.
I think would be so special to them.
It, uh, 100% it is. So,
Absolutely.
um, just as we're kind of wrapping up, I just wanted to ask you, what is what is one gift that you really want to leave our listeners with in terms of the juiciness of staying accountable? Like we talked about the work of it. What
Mhm.
what's the juiciness of it?
The juiciness of it. Huh. It's gonna sound so corny though. um, it's really corny, and it's so true. Like I just really feel like not only do you have to like believe in yourself, obviously, but you have to like visualize, whatever you're striving to be or to do. and believe that you were put on this earth to do it. Like, that's the only way that things are going to work out. Like, if you don't believe it, why should anybody else? So I feel like as long as you like really believe in what you're doing, believe in yourself that you have exactly what you need in order to make that happen. Um, and give yourself like time. Like, things don't happen like this. This was, like I said, like not anything that I was planning to do. Life just kind of worked out that way. So like just trust. I really believe that like things always work out for my benefit. I know that sounds crazy, but like even at Alivio, okay, right before maternity leave, I lost my therapist in the Hoboken location. Like, there were going to be no colonics in Hoboken, and I was about to go on maternity leave. And I didn't stress because I know that like God is looking out for me. Like, I know that He's got my back. Whatever you believe in, for me, it's God. But like, I know that He has my back, and I know that like it'll be fine. And I just surrendered, I trusted, and everything ended up working out and even better than before. So, like, just trust, give yourself time, be patient, know that like things are working out to your benefit. Even if you don't see it now, you'll understand later. And visualize, visualize, visualize. I think that that's so important.
Ashe. Thank you so much, Adriana, for doing this. I want to let everybody know I'll have links to Alivio in the show notes so people can book sessions with
Thank
you
you.
and with me, with all the other wonderful therapists and lymphatic drainage artists that we have at the studio. But just so that they know, what days are you currently in the studio if they wanted to book a colonic with you?
Yeah. So currently, and this will change, but right now, Mondays in the city studio, and Wednesdays and Fridays in Hoboken.
Amazing. And again, those links will be in the show notes for anyone who wants to book a visit. And, you know,
Thank
thank you. We got
you.
to clean that ish out.
And then also the lymphatics, because you are magical hands over there.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Everyone knows they could book a lymphatic with me. And if you don't know, now you know. So, um,
Thank you so much, Chloe. I mean, I have to say too, like earlier in the podcast, you were talking about like just like being confident and also like have humility. And when I spoke to you for the first time, that is exactly what you gave off. Like, I was like, oh my God, this girl, I was like intimidated by you for a second. I'm like, this girl knows exactly who she is, what she's talking about. Like, you just were so confident and so also flexible to work with someone who is opening a business at the same time. So like, it was really nice. So you definitely embody what you were talking about earlier. And I am so proud of you with this podcast. And thank you so much for having me on.
thank you. I love you.
Love you too.
Mwah. Queridas, we made it to one of my favorite parts of each episode, the moment of flow. I love poetry. I love words and rhythm and how when you mix the two, you get into a beautiful state of flow. And so I want to leave you with that at the end of each episode. So here it is, your moment of flow. Comets. You graze my field. I shiver with pleasure. A dance of passing energies. Comets. All is a moment. Dizzying warmth mixes whispering air, blues that explode joy. Clouds watch, reshaping themselves, telling stories for us to finish later. Am I the leaf, the tree, the sun? Where do I begin and you end? We tussle eternal, and with cosmic magic, touch more than a moment.